Japan has outlawed weapons before. Blades, firearms, explosives. But this was a body weapon. A fighting system so efficient at breaking human anatomy, so precise at shutting down nerves, joints, and blood flow, that authorities restricted its public practice. Not because it looked violent, not because it was flashy, because it worked too well. This is the brutal evolution of classical jujutsu, the original battlefield system of feudal Japan. Before sport, before rules, before referees. This wasn't designed for medals. It was designed for armored soldiers trying to kill each other at close range. And when Japan modernized during the Meiji era, when duels and battlefield grappling became unacceptable in civil society, many of these techniques were restricted, modified, or quietly removed, because they weren't meant for practice. They were meant to end men. Tonight, you'll understand the joint structures this system destroys, the nerves it shuts down in seconds, the choke mechanisms that black out the brain, and why parts of it were considered too dangerous for modern Japan. No myths, no fantasy, only anatomy, only physics, only damage. If strength was enough, this wouldn't exist. But strength is slow. This system attacks hinges, valves, cables. The human body is a machine, and this style was engineered to break it. Let's begin. Armor made striking useless, so they engineered joint destruction. On a battlefield, punches were meaningless. Samurai wore layered yoroi, iron plates, silk lacing, reinforced helmets. Strike the torso, metal. Strike the ribs, lacquered plating. Strike the skull, steel kabuto. Blunt force didn't penetrate. So classical Koryu Jujutsu evolved around a ruthless principle. If armor blocks impact, attack what armor cannot protect. The anatomy of destruction. Armor shields surfaces. It does not shield hinges. The elbow is a hinge joint. The knee is a hinge joint. The shoulder is a shallow socket held together by fragile connective tissue. These are mechanical failure points. Instead of striking muscle, practitioners applied rotational torque to hyperextend the elbow past ligament tolerance, internally rotate the shoulder until the capsule tears, reap the knee sideways, rupturing stabilizing ligaments. Armor restricts movement. Restriction increases structural vulnerability. When a limb is trapped inside layered plating, torque transfers directly into connective tissue. Ligaments are not built for rotation. They rupture at specific thresholds. On the battlefield, the objective wasn't unconsciousness. It was weapon removal. Break the elbow, the sword drops. Collapse the knee, mobility ends. Dislocate the shoulder, resistance disappears. Striking bruises armor. Joint destruction ends combat. 2. Zero rules, zero mercy, zero pause. There were no referees in feudal Japan. No rounds, no tap-outs, no medical supervision. Classical systems weren't built for points. They were built for survival inside lethal proximity. In Koryu Jujutsu, hesitation meant death. The combat psychology. Modern fighters train combinations. Battlefield grapplers trained finishes. The mental conditioning was direct. If the opponent falls, you finish. If a limb bends, you break. If the neck is exposed, you compress. Pain compliance was unreliable in armor. Structural collapse was reliable. Techniques focused on throws that spike the head into packed earth, blood chokes that compress the carotid arteries, pins that expose the throat for blade insertion. Compassion was not tactical. Efficiency was. This mindset is what later governments considered dangerous because it conditions the nervous system to escalate pressure, not release it. 3. 1868. Why the government sanitized it. In 1868, the Meiji Restoration dismantled the samurai class. Swords were restricted. Feudal warfare ended. Japan modernized rapidly. But thousands of masters still carried knowledge of battlefield joint destruction. The new government wanted order, not autonomous warriors trained to tear ligaments and crush windpipes. So the arts were restructured. Certain techniques were removed from public instruction. Neck cranks were reduced. Joint breaks became controlled submissions. Then came Jigoro Kano. He extracted principles from jujutsu and created judo. Throws were emphasized. Control replaced destruction. Competition replaced battlefield termination. It wasn't weakness, it was stabilization. A modern nation cannot allow citizens to practice systematic ligament rupture without restraint. So the lethal elements were buried in history, not erased. Restricted, because civilian society requires control. Battlefield systems do not. Koryu Jujutsu wasn't banned because it was mystical. It was restricted because it was mechanical. It understood the body as structure, and structure under torque fails. Martial arts today are safe, regulated, measured in points and medals. Rules protect joints. Referees stop chokes. Taps prevent permanent damage. But ask yourself something darker. When combat systems were stripped of their lethal intent, when joint breaks became joint holds, when battlefield survival became sport, did we preserve the art, or did we erase its purpose? Because the original systems weren't games. They were solutions to violence. And when you remove the danger, do you still have the truth, or just a performance of it? I want your answer in the comments. Did making martial arts safe destroy their true purpose? Think carefully before you respond. And if you want more hidden combat history, the systems that shaped nations before they were softened for the public, subscribe, because some knowledge wasn't lost, it was buried.